a majority of the guidance that you find in the Bible is guidance to help us grow internally. That the fact that the whole book barely talks about like, yo, you gotta brush your hair, brush your teeth, shows you like what really matters.
It was probably a time in your life. I feel like everybody kind of go through this where it's like you just want the most. Like you want the most, just as affluent as possible in all areas.
100%.
Whether it's the money, whether it's like women, whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's not until you realize that you check out today, like what did you leave behind that's of value? It's like it's not about to be like all of these. The measures of yourself isn't going to be the tally of like, oh, he did XYZ or he had XYZ. It's really how you touch people.
All right. So welcome to the Get Into the Truth podcast, where in a world full of noise, it's so important that we all have a truth that we can stand on. I got one of my good friends, one of the most genuine, true to himself, great people, not only externally, but internally. My guy Tevin. We got my guy Tevin in here.
I appreciate you, bro.
So like today, you definitely see a focus on like the need for external things. You see the importance of like the need to have like money, the importance to like look good, the importance to have followers, the importance to have like these exterior things. But with that being said, there's like what's more important than that is who you are inside, like who you are internally. And I think that it's important to remember that like we do kind of have to work on ourselves internally and not just kind of like focus on our external. I know for myself, it's easy to kind of get caught up in just kind of focusing on like those external things, like how much money am I making?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And forget about who you are internally. And if you think about legacy, if you think about long-term life, what matters the most is who you are internally.
At the end of the day.
In the Bible, like as Christians, we connect with the Bible. We use the Bible as a book to really kind of like connect with God's word and grow. And a majority of the guidance that you find in the Bible is guidance to help us grow internally. You know what I mean? God will say things like, that will inspire us to ultimately like love better. And with that being said, that the fact that the whole book barely talks about like, yo, you gotta brush your hair, brush your teeth, shows you like what really matters. You know what I mean? So like, I definitely wanted to have this conversation. I think that like, bro, like you're one of the best people to have it with because you are someone who works on yourself internally, and you can tell by the relationships that you choose to have around you, you're someone who values the internal of others. First and foremost, like I think something that could highlight this, like the importance of like who you are internally is like dating, right? Mm-hmm. So in dating, you see like as women, like you'll find girls looking like for a dude who, all right, like has money or looks good or whatever. And for men, you find dudes looking for girls who look good or whatever. But after dating, like so you hear a lot of people complaining about like the dating scene, like like dating's trash or whatever. But when they complain about it, it's not a lot of the time. What you don't hear is complaints of, oh, there's not enough dudes with money out here, or there's not enough girls who look good. A lot of the time, the complaints are about who the people are internally, and I think that's like. Dating kind of highlights like what's lacking. You know what I mean? Like we have enough people who look good. We got enough people who got money or understand the importance of it. But how many of us are really taking the time to like really work on who we are internally? And that's really what God wants us to do.
I think the difference between the exterior and the interior is like all the exterior is tangible stuff. So it's like things you can see, like you can see the car, you can't see the money all the time. Sometimes it's a facade, but
no, 100%.
you can see these things. So I think people invest in that because it's like you get that short term ROI on the improvements you make to the external. Where I feel like the internal, it might be like, that's what I was saying earlier, like 4th, 5th, 6th interaction where you're like, yo, this might not be a genuine individual. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel like you can kind of cloak that a little bit in the external, and it's like speaking for myself,
Yeah.
I think going back, a lot of it's the glory. Like it was probably a time in your life. I feel like everybody kind of go through this where it's like you just want the most. Like you want the most, just as affluent as possible in all areas.
100%.
Whether it's the money, whether it's like women, whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's not until you realize that you check out today, like what did you leave behind that's of value? It's like it's not about to be like all of these. The measures of yourself isn't going to be the tally of like, oh, he did XYZ or he had XYZ. Or it's really how you touch people, like, and what you leave behind, like what people think of you when you dip.
Yeah, no. If I were to rewind, right, and think about like my life before I like was a Christian, right? So like, it was exactly what you're describing. Like I definitely was somebody who was driven by exterior motives. Like I really was just trying to be as just
the most lit,
literally just as popping as possible. Like I got the most cash, or I'm in that conversation.
Yeah.
I got you see the girls we with. You see what we doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's like it wasn't until connecting with God that like you start to like reevaluate and almost get to a point of like, I know at least for me, I got to a point where it's like, you know what? I don't want like just these exterior things for the sake of them. I want what's for me.
Yeah.
And because what you realize is that like you can keep chasing like after more money, whatever, and there's still a void. You know what I mean? We need money.
Yeah.
And that you know what I mean? That's not gone. But I'm just saying like there's still after a while you get to a point where it's like, you know what, like for me it was through connecting with God that you realize, yo, I want what's for me. I want to be genuinely fulfilled in life. I want to be at peace, and maybe me just kind of running after like, yo, like just the most cash, the most this, the most that is not going to get me there. Mm-hmm. And thinking about it, I really do think that like a lot of the time we focus on those external things because it's like we're almost like lost. You know what I mean? You're like you haven't found yourself. But you want to be accepted. You want to be loved, mm-hmm. and you pursue it by basically getting as much as you can and saying like, "Look at me."
These things are gonna get me to where I feel like, if I get to this point, I'm gonna be satisfied.
100%.
If I get to this point, I'm gonna finally be happy with the end result. And it's like, nah.
Yeah, and it's like,
I'll always forever be chasing it.
100%. So okay, so then. All right, so us highlighting the importance of like the internal, it's like, okay, but what does that work look like? A big thing, of course, is connecting with God, because by connecting with God, you then are connecting with who made you. And by connecting with who made you, you're now being guided by someone who knows your who you are and what you need to do to function as the highest version of yourself, right? Outside of that, I think that in working with God, I think that a real important thing that you don't really hear a lot of people talking about is character, right? And the importance of character. Like character is, in my opinion, something that like we all need to work on, and it's something that like you said, to your point, if we just met, it's not something that you would see just from like meeting someone from like just off top, right? Mm-hmm. If I just kind of just met you, it's like, oh, cool dude, got the outfit on, quality dude. But it's not until like the longevity of relationship that you really kind of see what somebody's character is like.
Yeah.
To me, character is like you hear people say how you treat people that you don't need. You know what I mean? Like, who are you when nobody's looking? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Can you be trusted with broken people? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? When you are in power, what do you do with that power? Can you be trusted with power?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, these are things that like you really don't know until someone's like put in a situation that like exposes that. But this is what really matters. Like, if anybody's listening and they think about like their partner, man or woman, no matter what, you want a partner of character. Like to the dating point, dating's interesting in the fact that when you're dating, you're like forced to be in close proximity with a person to a point where like you really get to know who that person is and like
and learn them.
And exactly. And when character's lacking in that relationship, it's an easy highlight. And that's why you hear people complain, man, dating so trash, blah, blah, blah. Because we have so many people who have the exterior down, but the interior is is non-existent.
There's gaps.
There's 100%. There's big gaps. You see what I'm saying? So I guess it's just like when it comes to character, like what do you feel like helps build character? Like for you, like I would consider you someone of like high character. You know what I mean? If given power, you're not abusing that power. What would you say are things that like help you work on your character? You know what I mean? Like,
I feel like for me, bro, it's really, and it's. I mean, I think number one, it definitely has to be like a conscious effort, whereas like you realize things in yourself or you realize things in your interactions where you're like, yo, maybe I could have did that better. Maybe I could. But I think that we live today, like you said it earlier, like we live, like the world is loud, bro. Like there's distractions. And I was kind of using an example one time where it's like, all right, there's a lot of stuff that you can do and multitask and do, but like work on yourself isn't really one. Like self-reflecting isn't really one. Like praying, talking to God isn't one of those. You can't multitask and do that. You can, you know what I'm saying? To some extent. I feel like for me, it's kind of like having that separation where you step away and are actually focused, like with intent on like, all right, this is what I'm trying to work on. Going out, doing the work, or, however you're doing the work, and then going back again and having that self-reflection, like, and continuously having that self-reflection. Cause I feel like you kind of touched on it earlier too, where I feel like society today is very individualistic in that it's like, what do I have? What's the exterior? But what do I have going on? Like, what can I highlight to validate like success or validate like growth or moving forward? Where again, you can't really metric the internal like until later on. So like that's where it is. I feel like number one, you got to kind of like make sure you focusing with intent on, or at least for me, like you got to make sure you focusing with intent on where you want to grow.
Man, I feel you. And I think that like, if I were like, there's a couple of things I want to touch on. And for me, definitely I would agree. Like real life is the best teacher in that like, if you take time to reflect on your interaction with people, there's most of the time always opportunity for growth.
Every time.
You know what I mean? There's always opportunity for growth. Like if you had an interaction where you was arguing with somebody, always look in the mirror. Like always ask yourself, okay, that person did what they did. Cool. Mm-hmm. What could I have done better in that interaction? Or like, just living through life, interacting, having your moments with people, I think is your best opportunity to kind of like ask just consistently, just if you do take the time to like say, you know what, like, could I have been a better person in that situation? Could I have loved better in that situation? Could I have handled that situation better? Could I have taken the high road in that situation?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
that's
like,
a big one.
There's always room for growth. And it's crazy because listening to what you're saying, it's like, it's so easy to like feel forced to like prove, oh, this is what
I stand for. Like, this is me.
Exactly. And sometimes we're in such a rush to say this is me.
Yeah.
And it seems like life can kind of get like start moving so fast where like you almost feel like you just have to like present something like, man, like I got the social media is my highlight reel. I ain't had no highlights lately. I gotta look better. I gotta get more money. I gotta get a new car. I gotta get a new house. I gotta do this and this, because you can get to a point where it's like you feel like the exterior matters more than the interior. Mm-hmm. And that's in my opinion where you get lost. I know for myself, right? I've had phases where I'm like just so worried about like looking clean, just so worried about like presenting myself as someone who, you know what I mean, got it together. Maybe, you know, I at times I felt like, you know, a window was closing or like of life where like, yo, I gotta be up, keeping up with the Joneses. You know what I mean? Keeping up with the Joneses, where it's like, you know, you feel like you gotta like be up to par on certain things. And it wasn't until like really kind of like pushing into God, thank God, that I realized that, yo, who you are internally is really what's gonna get you to like where you're trying to go, way more than like anything external could. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, if you give me like, you could give me a chain, you could give me the whole rapper set, right? If I don't work on my bars, like, I'm still gonna be a trash rapper. You know what I mean? I may be able to fool a couple people, get my followers up a little bit or whatever. You know what I mean? Get my buzz up or whatever. But at the end of the day, I don't got it. You know what I mean? And it's like you could then take a rapper with a white tee. You know what I mean? Who like don't got no
that got the
chain, but he's been working on who he is, who would accelerate way faster because it's who you are internally that matters the most. But in today's day, it's so hard to like not just want to rush and present yourself as like clean or present highlights. But I think that a question you got to ask yourself is, at what cost are you focused on like your exterior? Like, because sometimes you can make irresponsible choices where it's like, you know what, like I'm so pressed to present myself like this that like I'm gonna spend money I shouldn't have spent, or I'm so pressed to present myself like this that I'm gonna spend mental effort that I should have spent on who I am inside.
It's crazy.
You see what I'm saying?
It's crazy times these days, bro.
And it's funny because it's like I'm talking like I'm above it, but I've been guilty of it. And I think that like staying centered with God is really crucial because it kind of keeps you focused on, yo, like who you are inside matters.
It's something that you can't put on. So to your point, right? It's like you made the like with the rapper.
Yeah.
And it's like on the spot, like, yo, rap, like give me 16. You know what I'm saying? You can't do it. You not no amount of drip, if you will, is about to make you have bars. So I feel like it's something that you can't put on, and in those moments where things get critical, that's where it exposes itself that you haven't done the internal work.
If you don't know like the cost of something, like you may feel like it's easier than it is, right?
Yeah.
So like if you don't know, being a Meek Mill level rapper or being like, you know, on the top of any industry, if you don't know like what that work looks like on the back end and all you see is the front, you might think, all I gotta do is get a social media page, get the same clothes that this person has,
run it up.
get the same exterior things that this person has, and think that you can be who that person is interior.
A lot of times, bro, like to that point, I feel like it's almost not to say like a slap in the face, but it's almost like if you have this gift, or you feel like, yo, this is my passion, or this is my purpose, if you will. I feel like not exercising it to get better, moving further and further or closer and closer toward the external and not actually polishing up on it, it's like having a Rari and like, you know what I'm saying? Like in traffic. Like
yeah.
It's like
that's a great example.
You're not really like, yeah, to your point, yeah.
And then I think another thing that's crucial as far as like the internal work goes is understanding that like, you know, like you hear people say a lot of the time like I am who I am. That's just my personality.
It's a lot of that. My best life.
You know,
my best life.
Yeah, 100%. And if you think about it, like I think a lot of the things, and I heard a pastor say this. He was saying that like some things that you call like just who you are is actually like a bad habit. You know what I mean? Where it's like there's so much undoing that we have to do as like people. You know what I mean? Like we're born in this world that's not perfect, right? And being born in this world that's not perfect, it comes with like environmental things that affect who we are as people. You know what I mean? And like as we grow, God is there to kind of like undo some of that damage. And that undoing is internal work. You know what I mean? Like you see people going to therapy. You see people doing these things where it's like you're basically like looking into who you are and saying, okay, let me keep what's God. Let me keep what's like the me at my highest version of myself, and let me remove the lower level things. Yep. But if you don't do that internal work, you just make an assumption that, oh, my internal's good, then you miss out on those opportunities to like shave those things off. And shaving those things off is really what's gonna get you to where you got to go. Like if you think about like it could be things like being an evil person, being a liar, whatever. But it's also like things like confidence, like things like not having fear. Yeah. You know what I mean? Things like being able to like be yourself and like be bold about that. You know what I mean? And like and walk out like your God-given purpose. You know what I mean? And like these are things that like you may have blocks internally that are stopping you from getting there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Things like anxiety. You know what I mean? Like these are things that like we all deal with, and like if you just kind of you can't put makeup over fear. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You can't put makeup over anxiety. You got to put that internal work in to do it. But that's why I love walking with God, because it's almost like once you connect with God, have that relationship with God, it's almost like you start walking out like life, and he'll get to you somehow, some way, somehow. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely. It's gonna find you. It's gonna come one day, and you're just gonna be like, it's gonna be undeniable.
100%. Literally, it's like God will speak to you however He needs to, because He loves you. And if there's somewhere that you need to go where you can't have that fear to get there, mm-hmm. He will keep sending you that message until you get it. Like, look, you're gonna have to let go of that fear to get to where you need to go. You're gonna have to let go of that anxiety to get to where you need to go. You're gonna need to let go of that internal self-doubt. You're gonna need to have more faith. You know what I mean? And like you're gonna need to have more character. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You're gonna need to be trusted with like these people as a leader. I need you to kind of step up who you are inside. Mm-hmm. And thinking about it, bro, I think that the biggest reason that it probably is that way is probably because of like the fact that it's easier in the short term
to neglect it.
100%, mm-hmm. because tomorrow, 100%, and like when it's neglected, if you don't have like long-term relationships, or you don't have like people around you who like all right, I fell out with that person, I'm just gonna get a new friend. You know what I mean? If you don't have, you know, like a reason, like a long-term or legacy type of, you know, plays going on, you can almost even ignore the need for it and you just kind of just
keep moving,
live day by day.
Yeah, that's a huge thing, bro. Because I think it comes. I keep saying it over and over, but I feel like the world is loud. I feel like you gotta quiet it down so that you can focus on that relationship with God and focus on that self-improvement. And it's really about submitting yourself to this, just something greater than yourself. Like that comes in part like in your purpose, but then it's just like you ask yourself like, all right, what are some questions you can ask yourself? It's just really like, one, what am I doing this for? Like, what am I doing this for? Like in everything. Is it for self-glory, or is it for the glory of God? That's one question. But then it's just like, okay, if I checked off today, like what am I leaving behind, like of value? Like what is, not to say like, you know, you live forever, but I really do feel like your works live on forever, the good works that you do, like through other people. So yeah, bro, I think I think it's quieting the world down so that you can even focus to receive and to nurture your spirit. Because if you on the move, when you on the move, it's very easy to just, you know, you clocking time, you clocking, you add it up.
100%, man. And it's like you can almost end up being like a busybody. You know what I mean? Like I know for a fact when my life without God, like I was still working hard, and in the Bible it says that, I think it says something like if you're not working on something that God like wants you to be working on, you're working in vain. Yeah. You know what I mean? And like you can really be out here hustling, working dumb hard, but be working on something that's ain't even what you're supposed to be working on. And to your point, if you kind of like slow down, kind of like allow things to kind of like allow a moment, allow space to hear from God, you then get to a position where it's like, okay, all right, this is what I'm supposed to be on.
First thing that come to mind is like Kobe, right? It's like all these great things. I'm sure people have had like highlights, great times of Kobe. You could talk about Kobe's game highlights. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, it's gonna be some of that, but it's really just for a lot of people. You know, that people that were close to him, the stories were more so about like work ethic, about what he left behind. You know, that they live by day. It's not like, yo, Kobe is like, of course, Kobe like yammed it on me like in practice. Like Kobe dropped 80. It's like, we know these stats. That's what makes. That's not necessarily what makes him great. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's what got your attention. But it's all the other things that he was doing in the background that is what that legacy even is. Like, you know what I mean?
Bro, it's the internal work though. You know what I mean? Like you don't get to be like Kobe if you're focused on being the, like if you're focused on looking like the number one athlete, you're not going to be the number one athlete. If you're focused on the work that it takes to be the number one athlete, that's when you become the number one athlete. And it's like,
and we joked out like the NBA tattoo starter pack.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Come back after rookie season, stupid tatted.
Bro, it's like there's always that player like I mean I might have been guilty in high school. You know what I mean? Who just like, you know what, you grab the freshest cleats, you grab the freshest sneaks, the freshest socks. You know what I mean?
Not cold.
But you not cold.
Last summer you got the same shot.
Exactly, same shot. You know what I mean? You looking clean on the sideline. You know what I mean? Clean on the bench. You feel me? And it's like, yeah, like, bro, that's what it comes down to. It's just it's the internal work. And man, like, when I really do think that it's the fact that like it's almost a lazier approach. You know what I mean? Because it's like technically, like, you could like build your like a brand that made you look like you was Kobe.
Yeah.
You could.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
especially today.
You know what I mean? Like you could like, you know what I mean? Like you could literally build a perception, like you could build yourself to the point of being perceived as, dang, like he must be nice. You know what I mean? Get the right angles, get the right this, get the right that. And it's like, yo, no shortcuts. You know what I mean? Like no shortcuts. And that's not gonna last that long. You know what I mean? Like you could go for that. You can go for those short-term games, but it's not going to last that long. You know what I mean? Like, after a while, it's like, look, like, life going to expose you.
You're going to meet the right, life going to expose you. Absolutely.
Life will expose you eventually.
Absolutely.
And if you think about, like the longevity, and you think about the legacy, then the legacy that you're going to leave, all that stuff that's here today and gone tomorrow really is, like, not legacy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everything that, like, lasts long-term requires internal work, like you know what I mean, the slow cooked, you know what I mean, whether slow or fast, it's internal. You know what I mean? You got to really kind of focus on the engine of the car versus the paint. Yeah. And bro, thinking about it, I think that's it. I think we hit it. I think it really is just the fact that, like, if you're being lazy, it's a quicker route to the glory of it. Yeah. Without the really being it. You can get the glory of almost anything. You know what I mean? Like, I could literally present myself at, like, especially with Instagram, you can literally build the like, everybody's taking pictures. I could take a picture doing almost anything that everybody else is doing. I I could I could get on the side of a rocket right now.
Yeah, be like I'm an astronaut.
Yeah, I mean with the drill, like grab this shot right here.
I work on this aircraft.
Exactly. You know what I mean? I could get on a court, throw the crazy, you know what I mean, the crazy jersey on or whatever, and look like, you know what I mean, like I might be the toughest hooper that you never met. but I think that because it's so much easier to present yourself like that, I think that's why, bro. I think that's it. I think, and yeah, like if you think about, but legacy is what really matters. You know what I mean?
I'm reading this book right now called Atomic Habits. I'm still reading it, so I haven't completed it. But there was a part in there where they're talking about ultimately the whole book is about habits and building, positive habits. But it's about like compounding, right? So 1% growth daily versus like 1% decline daily looks a lot different. Like, you know what I mean? Like you flash forward 365 days into the future, that compounded 1%, numbers, that's going to be astronomical. But it's very, very easy to get down to zero by just having those lazy like work ethic. And 1% sounds like a small regression every day, but 1% of 99, 1% of 98, you could get to zero like very fast. But 100%. You could also triple up a lot faster. So it's kind of just focusing on those small things.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think like it's crazy, like the level of like, I love what you're saying in that it highlights the fact that like you have to make a conscious effort to focus on that internal work.
Asking yourself who you want to be. You know what I mean? Like, who do you want to be? And these are the steps to get there. Like, let's take it one by one. These small wins. Like, you know what I mean?
100%. And it's like when doing internal work, right? You have the bar, and then you have where you are. I think that that's an important thing to do to properly like gauge your level of internal work, right? So like we have the bar as believers of Jesus, right? We have the bar of like loving our neighbors like we love ourselves and loving God like and walking like Jesus walked on the earth, right? That's a heavy bar,
yeah,
right? Then we have where we are today, right? Each day, to your point of the 1%, we need to get closer and closer to that each day. And if you are not in tune with yourself enough to say, you know what, like, man, like I got closer today. Man, you know what? I got a little farther today. I'm gonna be honest. But today I got close. Then you might find yourself not growing internally and staying the same. You can be 35 years old with a 16-year-old growth. You know what I mean? Because you went 1% one day, 1% back, 1% forward, 1%, and you never grew. So you gotta take the time to like ask yourself, wait, like, all right, how am I growing? In the example of like your purpose, your career, whatever, you have the cost. The cost is the bar. How much does it cost to be the number one actor in the world? You look at the number one actors. What's their work ethic like? How much does it cost to be the number one CEO? You look at these Bezos, you look at Elon, you're looking at these guys. What are they doing? Now you look at where you're at. Then you say, okay, did I get 1% better or did I get 1% back?
Yeah, absolutely.
And just an exercise like that alone, I think, will cause people to definitely start improving, because it's like, dang, like I'm just now I'm even aware of how far I am, or how close I am. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of us, I mean myself included, at many times are just kind of like living in the moment, or living in delusion. or fighting for the exteriors without the interior. And I've done that so many times, bro.
That's why I hear it a lot of times, like, and it's no shade, bro, but the manifesting conversation is like, it's cool, but it's like faith without work is dead, bro.
100%.
It's like, I feel like some of those, and I'm not even gonna say all the conversations, but it's like That might be too deep. I don't even know, bro.
No, I mean,
I feel like it just.
But I mean, and then, so like, I think
it's not just a wish.
But see, and see, but I think when you say faith without works is dead, it highlights how like when you hear work, right? Faith without works is dead.
You think external.
When the work is internal work primarily versus exterior work. You know what I mean? Like, all right, I want to be married, right? If you want to be married, you can get the you can get the wedding, but that's not gonna do it. You can get, I don't know if that's the best example, but but you see what I'm saying? Like you can basically like you're gonna have to become. I'm gonna have to become a husband. I'm gonna have to work on who I am internally first before to get that marriage. That's the cost of it. You know what I mean? Like and essentially everything has a cost. And bro, like I think that, yeah, I mean 100%.
I'm right there with you, bro.
Two things that you should, if you leave this podcast knowing, well, or two questions you should ask yourself are you getting closer to the bar of Jesus each day? You know what I mean? And that's, are you getting closer to loving better? Are you getting closer to being a better like person spiritually? Are you, as your faith growing, are you getting closer to being like Jesus each day? We're never going to get there. You know what I mean? We never go get on Jesus level. But at the same time, internal work looks like getting to be more and more like Jesus each day. Two, when it comes to your life's purpose and being diligent and applying excellence to the gift that God gave you, how far are you? Are you getting closer and closer to what it cost to walk out that gift? You know what I mean? If that gift cost Elon Musk level worth ethic, and you sleep most of the day, there's a gap. Yeah. You know, you know what I mean? If you want to be a wife, you want to be a husband or whatever, and you're selfish and you're whatever, there's a gap.
There's a gap.
You know what I mean? If you see where we're going. And I think that those are two questions that you should ask yourself each day. And I think if you do that, that is what internal work looks like.